In the last class, we were discussing animism, naturalism, and totemism. These were the three important theories of religion before sociology of religion was evolving as a science. In the beginning, it appeared that animism is the first stage of religion, followed by naturalism, and the third stage is totemism. But in case we concentrate on the underlying principle of this theorization about religion, we come across three central concepts: magic, religion, and science. Then there were three other concepts which were not so central as magic, religion, and science, but which had become central now: belief, ritual, and social organization of religion as a moral community. Therefore, we will try to sum up the previous discussion around six key concepts: magic, religion, and science in one set, and religious belief, ritual, and social organization of religious community as a moral community. I hope some of you must have started reading the elementary forms of religious life, but it is a difficult book. Not because the language is difficult, but because the concepts are not properly explained. Because the context is not fully elaborated. And I must draw your attention to a sentence which is very dear to my generation of theorists in social sciences. Namely, words have no meaning. Only sentence is meaningful. This is by Claude Lévi-Strauss. Words have no meaning. Only sentences are meaningful. It means the literal meaning of a word is very unreliable. It depends on the relationship between different words and how relationships are made in any language on the basis of rules of grammar. Therefore, what is grammar for a language is a structure for society. The structure of any society or community provides the rules, the norms, and the values which are binding on the members. Now, what the sociologists were discussing when they were discussing animism, naturalism, or totemism, they were discussing the possibility of a comparative science of religion. They were trying to say that the whole debate about religion in 18th century European Enlightenment was lopsided. Some people accepted religion, some people rejected religion. But the question is, are we people who can make value judgments? The answer is no. Our job as a sociologist is not to pass value judgment whether a particular belief system is right or wrong, good or bad. It should be better left to the believers of that religious community. Then what is our role? Our role is to facilitate people to understand our neighbor, because by 19th century there were very few tribal or moral communities in the world which contained 100% believers. Heterogeneity was coming due to division of labor, both in society as well as in science. There were disputes about the cardinal belief system, performance of ritual, and the organizing principle of social organization. As a result, there were division of the moral community called the church. Therefore, by 19th century, when our sociologists are writing, you do not have a moral community called church, but you have also cults and sects. Not only in the so-called world religions, but also in sciences. The second problem was that the word society was being misused and it was being misunderstood also. Why? Because of the politics of translation. What does it mean? For example, take the Greek term society used by Aristotle. It corresponded roughly to the English language term civilization. But when tonnage is used in society, it is altogether a different term, Therefore, words do not convey the same meaning. They change in history and geography. Therefore, every term, every concept is locally interpreted and understood. Now, what does it mean? Is local a geographical term? No. Local is not only geographical, it is also cultural. Are you getting the point? For example, in the last class we had seen a moral community can be conceptualized, can be made or manufactured around a territory when we have a concept of Gram Devta, Gram Devta, that is village deity. But it can be also constructed around our ancestors. For example, some people like William Robertson Smith talk about Semitic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as a religion which is founded around one ancestor, Abraham. In that sense, the Jews and the Christians and the Muslims, they make a moral community, but it is not geographical. It is a moral community founded around one ancestor, Abraham, and one myth of Adam and Eve in the Old Testament. But there are other types of moral communities also. For example, there is one very famous historian, Arnold Toynbee, who had said and demonstrated that in case Christianity is a religion, in case Islam is a religion, in case Judaism is a religion, in case there is a Hindu religion, in case there is a Buddhist religion, in case there is a Chinese religion, then Marxism is also a religion. Because the Marxists also make a moral community. Are you getting the point? And after all, they have similar rituals. For example, a Muslim will greet a fellow Muslim in a particular way. A Hindu will refer to a particular Hindu in a particular way. In the same way, Marxists also refer to the fellow Marxist in a particular way, which is almost universal. Now, I do not know whether you have paid enough attention to the book, The Division of Labor in Society or not, but there is a beautiful paragraph about friendship in the first part when he is dealing with friendship is also a division of labor. And who are your best friends according to Immanuel Durkheim? They are not those with whom you share a lot of things. They are your complementary. That is called division of labor. But it is not so easy as Durkheim tried to present. As I said, there are 6 major concepts. The first concept is magic. Second concept is religion. Third concept is science and their relationship. I will give you some quotations and some lines which will be helpful. For example, take magic. 3 major authors have studied it. One is Sir James Frazer, and the name of the book is The Golden Bough. Second is Bronislaw Malinowski, Magic, Religion and Science, and third is Immanuel Durkheim. May I ask you, optional, what is the major difference between James Frazer and Immanuel Durkheim vis-a-vis these 3 concepts, magic, religion and science? You may have your similar answer, but you may not have similar answer. You know why? Because you are JNU students. And the genius of JNU lies in individualizing the science. You study a particular science in your own way, which is not wrong. It is only more costly in terms of, your energy. You do not make a lot of tables, do you? For example, I usually do not use blackboard, but let me try. James Frazer. He said magic is the first form of religion. The magician represents the mechanical solidarity of mankind. And then there is division of labor among the magicians. And magicians are, you know, divided. There is division of labor among the magicians in organic solidarity. According to Sir James Fraser, you remember Egyptian pharaoh? You know, Egyptian pharaoh was, in the language of sociology, a magician who combined the role of the priest and the role of the king. Therefore, it is not that only the Pope represented the two, or the Muslim Khalifa represented the two in one person. Are you getting the point? Therefore, the division between the sacred and secular doesn't hold. The king was also sacred. Are you getting the point? It is not that the priest became sacred and the king became profane. No. Both were sacred. And they are even today. What is the meaning of sacred? They are not person, rather they are an office. You know, they are a symbol. They represent collective conscience. Are you getting the point? In any community, in any society, in any state, in any civilization, it is not necessary that one person will represent the whole community. Even if officially it is so. Therefore, there has been no moral community or civilization on earth which speaks in one language. Culture is always ambivalent. It is differently interpreted by the followers of the moral community, not necessarily out of their personal interest, because as Louis Dumas, Imai Khaim, and many others have argued, the modern notion of individual is a 19th century phenomenon. The type of person, political person, political citizen, or the individual, which is easily understood by all of us, is very difficult to understand before 18th century. For example, you must have read Homo Hierarchicus by Louis Dumas. It is a book full of errors. It is a book full of errors, but whenever you are prescribed a book as a compulsory reading in a stratification, it means there is a moral consensus among the sociologists that the book is not successful in validating its hypothesis, but it is a serious hypothesis. Are you getting the point? Louis Dumas says that in India, the concept of moral individual is lacking. They have a collective self. I would like to say, theoretically, it is possible that in a particular society, the members or the elements of society are not individuals, rather, it is family. You know, but it is difficult to agree that in India there is no concept of the individual. And in Europe there is a concept of individual. There is no concept of individual in non-Protestant moral communities. This was the hypothesis of Max Weber. Because I am giving you a very arbitrary example in case you have read today's or yesterday's newspaper. But my intention is not to argue on the argument. My intention is to demonstrate or falsify the principle underlying it. And what is the principle? Who is good, who is bad? Who is a terrorist, who is a pacifist? Who is a good American, who is a bad American? Who is a good Indian, who is a bad Indian? These are value loaded concepts which should be understood at three levels: theological stage, metaphysical stage, and positive or scientific stage. I have a very interesting argument for you at the end of my lecture, but I will hold it. This is James Fraser. Now, what is Durkheim? Both agree that in every moral community, magic, religion, and science, all the three are found. But what is their relationship? According to Sir James Fraser, magic is the bastard sister of science. Please make a note. Because it is a very huge book. Do you know Golden Bough? The first volume was published in 1890 and the last volume was published in 1922. Every year there was one volume. Huge encyclopedia of religion, the Golden Bough. Now, the whole debate is that, according to Sir James Fraser, and here you will find a very interesting similarity between James Fraser and Karl Marx, or the Marxists. For example, Romila Thapa has got a book, our senior colleague in history department, From Lineage to a State. From lineage, that is kinship, clan, to a state. There has been social evolution from lineage to a state. It is similar from magic to a state, from clan to a state, from totemic clan to a state. Therefore, Marxists have followed it, but it cannot be said, it will be wrong to say that Marx or Engels or Romila Thapa are followers of Sir James Fraser. No. What is common between the two? The principle of classification. Two different people may not know each other, but they may argue in a similar way. Are you getting the point? Therefore, some people have said that religion is the mother of contemporary social life. Religion is the mother of contemporary social life. Some other people have said religion is the mother of all our sciences. And contemporary view is that both are complementary to each other. In the very beginning, Durkheim had said, there is a social origin of knowledge. There is a social origin of knowledge. And therefore, Durkheim had said that religion is the data around which sociology of knowledge has developed. And see Karl Marx, existence precedes consciousness. They are talking two different languages, but they are saying the same thing. Marx said, existence, that is social life, existence precedes consciousness. Marx is also saying that there is social origin of knowledge, consciousness, science. Science is socially constructed. Science is socially constructed. Society gives birth to two different types of consciousness, false consciousness and true consciousness. This is a viewpoint which is shared by almost every social scientist today. Take Durkheim. Some people criticize that Marx was a theist. But what Durkheim has to say about animism? This is from the Elementary Forms. His exact quotation, direct narration. Animism reduces religion to nothing more than a system of hallucinations. This is Durkheim, who is regarded as anti-Marxist. And now take Marx. He writes, and the name of the book is Critique of Hegel's Philosophy of Right. He is writing about religion. Religion is the heart of a heartless world. Religion is the heart of a heartless world and the soul of the soulless conditions. And the third sentence is, it is the opium of the people. This is the English translation. But in case you read the original language, that is German, then it should be translated. Religion is the heart of a heartless world, comma, and the soul of the soulless conditions, full stop. It is the opium of the, in bracket, alienated people. Now, what is the difference between Marx on the one hand and Durkheim on the other? Then the second Marxist argument about religion is, again from the same book, Critique of Hegel's Philosophy of Right. Second, religion had been useful to the ruling classes since it gave the working classes false hope for the millennia. Third, again from the same book, religion is also a form of protest by the working classes against their poor economic conditions and their alienation. Opium of the people is itself a dialectical metaphor, a protest and an expression of suffering. Class in itself cannot become class for itself without a moral consensus. Class in itself cannot become class for itself without a moral consensus, without an ethical value system of reward and punishment within a communist party. Without common goal, a structural transformation is not possible. And common goal is not possible without moral consensus or moral community. The revolution as a concept is astronomical in origin. You think that revolution is a political term. No. It is a term, key technical term borrowed from astronomy, which Auguste Comte was trying to study in a relationship to society. Therefore, what I wanted to draw your attention to is that when in the conclusion part of the elementary forms of religious life, Durkheim has one line: in the beginning, everything was religious. In the beginning, everything was religious. This is the concluding, major statement of Durkheim in the elementary forms of religious life. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is very simple. Both in sciences as well as in society, there has been some sort of social evolution. Okay? But this is not the same social evolution which Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer were advocating in England. What is the basic difference? What is the basic difference between Spencer's social evolution or Darwin's social evolution or the social evolution of Marx or Durkheim or Mahatma Gandhi or Nagarjuna, the Buddhist monk? In the first category, that is the category of Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer, there are three theories. And these are, please make a note: natural selection, theory of natural selection. Second, a struggle for existence, and third, survival of the fittest. This is Herbert Spencer in a book called Principles of Sociology, and this is also from Charles Darwin, Origin of Species. Both share a similar cosmology, a similar, worldview, where natural selection, a struggle for existence, and survival of the fittest is taken for granted. Now, what is the Durkheimian view or the Marxist view? It is the same view which was propounded by August Comte in Sociology and William Robertson Smith in Comparative Study of Religion. And what is this view? This view is that there are three types or three models of evolution. There are three types or three models of evolution. This is a model of this is a model, the Darwinian model or the Spencerian model, which is very predominant in the natural world. In the natural world, amoeba, for example, struggles in the sea to survive. And there are many amoebas, which are struggling to survive. And then there is some sort of natural selection by the sea. And how the sea, functions. Then they said, both Newton and Darwin, that there are planets in the sky which influence the tides of the ocean. And it is not only the sea but also the planets and the tides which influence the natural selection. Now, what is wrong with Spencerian view? They are not differentiating between the three models. Amoeba and monkeys or elephants and bees do not evolve in similar way. So are human beings. Are you getting the point? There should be three models of evolution and not one. This is the viewpoint. This is the viewpoint. Human beings are part of nature, agreed. And there is also competition among the human beings, but a struggle in the forest, a struggle in the sea to survive, and a struggle to survive in a society, in a classroom, is not the same thing. What is the difference? The difference is that of language. The amoeba, the monkeys, the chimpanzees, they transfer their language to the next generation through DNA code. A monkey need not learn the language of monkeys. The elephants need not know the language of elephants. It is transferred through the DNA code, gene. But human language is not transferred through the gene. Human language is a learned behavior. Since human beings, have discovered or invented a very sophisticated weapon of survival called language. Therefore, their evolution is not necessarily determined by their biology or ecology. Rather, there is some collective freedom at our disposal to surpass the nature. And I think the critics of Marx had got it wrong. In the English translation, I know it is a political pamphlet, but even political pamphlets have a structure of argument that when human beings will be united, there will be only nature to fight with. Now, this fight is not the fight of amoeba. This is the fight of a different kind, the type of fight which husbands and wives, fight on the bed. Or the brothers and sisters, fight for a gift by the parents. Or, this is a fight to get the best grade. This is a learned language to maneuver your interest. Are you getting the point? Now, what happens that every human community on earth considers their own family, their own caste, their own class, their own race, their own ethnic community as superior and the other as inferior. Are you getting the point? Therefore, we and they, our people and other people, the chosen and the damned, this is the language of every local community. Local not in the geographical sense, but in the moral sense of the term, in the social sense of the term, in the cultural sense of the term. Now, the role of a sociologist, according to August Comte, Immanuel Kant, Karl Marx, Robert Smith, is that to facilitate a very smooth dialogue between the human beings, between different communities. Because whether we like it or not, no country in the world today is homogeneous. There are different types of people with different types of value system, and we must have a common language to talk with, to negotiate our disagreements. Are you getting the point? Therefore, sociology as a science was conceptualized as the greatest weapon human beings can have to make peace, to make love, to make paradise on earth. Therefore, August Comte had got a book, The Religion of Humanity. Sociology was conceptualized as a common framework which will make a very open-ended, truthful dialogue possible between the communities. I am giving you one example from India, the other example from United States of America of January 2017. There are two terms which are being debated. One is the term Vikas. Our prophet, the Prime Minister of India, says he is the only person who knows the magic of Vikas. And what is magic? Magic is the power of apparently influencing events by using mysterious or supernatural forces. Magic is the power. In case you wanted to make it more specific, magic is the power of an institution, in bracket, of an institution, comma, a symbol, comma, an office, comma, or a representative, comma, who claims to influence events by using mysterious or supernatural forces. This is the technical meaning of magic in sociology of religion. But there is another meaning of magic in the English language. Suppose you read a good English dictionary, they will give another definition. They will say, please do not write, because then you will have a choice to use this or that. Use only first one, because that is sociological. This is English language. In the English language, that is the sociological meaning of magic. The second is the magic is the trick of a magician in entertainment industry. I do not know whether our great Prime Minister is a magician of first variety or the second variety. What is the problem with magic? The problem with magic is that there is a structure which you see, a Prime Minister of India or a President of United States of America, and they say something which becomes binding on the citizens of India or United States of America. But what makes it magic and not religion or science? Because in magic, there is a magician, there is a prime minister, there is a president, there is a prophet, there is a priest who claims to be charismatic, the Weberian charisma. And they did not explain the underlying principle, the structure of their policy, the process of implementation, and the function of that policy within a stipulated time, so that it becomes practically impossible to test it in the lab. Are you getting the point? It is unverifiable. It is unfalsifiable. You give any argument, Mr. Trump or Mr. Modi will not agree, because they are not scientists. They are not really religious people. They are magicians, charismatic people. Now, what is this? According to Durkheim, and please do not, try to read more than I say. According to Durkheim, a certain percentage of crime is normal. A certain percentage of crime is normal. Now it is up to you to see whether Mr. Trump or Mr. Modi are normal magicians or pathological magicians. No scientist will claim I am a good scientist. They will always say I am a normal scientist. But magicians are good magicians and bad magicians. But priests are not good priests and bad priests. Why? Because they are accountable to certain rules, laws, and people. Magicians and charismatic leaders are not accountable to the people or not accountable to the constitution through which they got elected. What does it mean? They are trying to make moral community as immoral. Please remember, I am neither a Marxist nor a political person. I have not voted after 1977 because I have been trained as a Buddhist monk and I have no right to vote. You can kill me and my community will not go to the court. We are dead people. You kill the Pope, and Catholic Church will not go to the court because they represent the highest court. Are you getting the point? Therefore, what I am trying to say is that please remember, there may be rival principles of power. For example, Montesquieu, they said, what they said? Montesquieu and his friends, they said, the state should be separated into three structures. Only then it can function and succeed. And these structures are known in religion by three institutions. One is the legislative. For example, in Hindu religions, you have three deities: Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Now, what is the role of Brahma? The role of Brahma is to create what? Rules. He is a legislator. You ask any contemporary Hindu priest, they will not be able to tell you why. Why? Because I am just making you empirical observation, and my intention is not to criticize any religion or eulogize any religion. I am trying to share with you the structure of this separation of power. For example, you ask any Hindu priest, or because there is no Hindu theologian, why Brahma is not worshipped? In case they are at par, they are equal, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, they are regarded as equal, then all three of them should be worshipped, isn't it? Have you seen any Hindu family or Hindu person who recites Brahma, 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 Brahma? No. But you will find many people who will say Sitaram, 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 Radhe Sam, Radhe Sam, Radhe Sam, Radhe Sam, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, something like that. Shiva is worshipped, Vishnu is worshipped, but why Brahma is not worshipped? You ask anybody. The reason is this, my dear friend, that to become a Christian priest, you have to undergo a rigorous training of 14 years. To be a Muslim priest, you have to undergo a rigorous training of 13 years. To become a Jain priest, you have to undergo a rigorous training of almost 21 years. To become a Jewish priest, you have to undergo a rigorous training of almost 30 years. But how many years a Hindu priest undergoes training? Not even a single second. There is no Hindu priest. I have been doing field work since 1978. And I am yet to find a trained Hindu priest. Your priest is not trained enough. Then how you are going to conduct your moral community? This is a problem which the Hindu society has to face. And I am now giving you a very provocative example, and some of you must be very, very angry. I had gone to Sikkim to give a lecture within my own community. And I asked them, why is it that those who follow Hinayan Buddhism, that is Theravada, but wrongly it is called Hinayan Buddhism, people are very poor? They said because we were colonized by the English. I am talking about Sri Lankans, Burmese, Thai people. I said, so was the case with China and Japan. They are also Buddhists. Have you seen any Mahayani Buddhist who is poor? Have you seen any Jain who is poor? Have you seen any Zoroastrian who is poor? Have you seen any Sikh beggar? These are empirical questions. I am not criticizing anybody. There is no Hindu religion. There are Hindu religions. For example, take one Hindu community. They are the Vaishnavites of Rajasthan and Gujarat. They are very rich people. Why? Because they are not part of the Hindu society. They are part of religious cults associated with Swami Narayan Sampradaya or Akshardham. Their concept of religion has nothing in common with Mr. Narendra Modi. But the BJP government gave almost 100 acres of land to Akshardham, and they fight election on Ram Janmabhoomi. My question is, why you want to construct Ram temple only on the disputed site? You could have constructed Ram temple instead of Akshardham. Even Muslims and the Christians and the Buddhists and the Sikhs would have done Kar Seva. I am not criticizing Hindu society. Hindu society, like any society, has its own strengths and weaknesses. But please tell me, I'm giving you a very wrong example. Maybe I am mad today. Hindus and Christians are not ready even to live for their religions. And in case some Muslims are ready to die for their religion, it is altruistic suicide. You have to accept it. Only because there are few of them and their means, that is the violent means, is wrong, it doesn't make that their critique of capitalism is wrong. But what is needed is maybe one chapter in the curriculum of Muslim priests about comparative theology of religion. They must try to understand that their branding, requires some correction. Their faith is intact, their rituals are fine, but their social organization is facing some real existential problem. So is the case with Hindu society. For example, some people like Max Weber equate Hindu society with caste. I have not found caste usually associated with the Hindu society. There are tribal Hindus, there are caste Hindus, there are class Hindus, there are diaspora Hindus, and there are also frauds Hindus. There are of 5 varieties, and all of them cannot be equated. In the same way, in any religious community, there can be different types of people. And you cannot understand any religious community without using the empirical method. An empirical method, my dear friends, is not needed only to observe rituals or to study social organization. Empirical method is also needed to study belief system. How the belief is understood and communicated among the believers, it is an empirical question and it should not be left to the dogmatic people. Are you getting the point? Therefore, try to contextualize community at 3 levels: belief, ritual and social organization, and try to see whether there has been evolution on the lines of magic, religion, and science. For example, what was understood as magic is being reinterpreted today in the postmodern condition. More so in science and medicine than in society. Some of you must have heard about homeopathy, a science which was discovered in Germany and developed in France and United States of America. When homeopathy came in, the allopathic system of medicine or the modern medicine or the biomedicine claimed that it is magic. And it is placebo effect, it doesn't function. Body has its own healing mechanism. But today, even, hardened allopaths accept that there are some diseases which can be cured by homeopathy, which was considered magic. Therefore, magic has not only two connotations, which is found in the books, but a third one. I represent science, you represent magic. Magic is not only a power to influence events by using mysterious or supernatural forces. Magic is not only trick of magician in entertainment world. Magic is also abusive language, which is usually attached with the other, your opponent, your hostile neighbor. This is not acceptable in science. Therefore, you please try to understand these different terms by using Encyclopedia of Social Sciences, Encyclopedia of Religion, the textbook which you have selected for your term paper, and in case there is any difficulty, we can discuss.